LCS waiting room. As you can see, we are joined by 100 Thieves jungler Closer for the day.
Nice.
He's going to be hanging out with us and then doing some casting.
Yep.
Going to be reviewing the game that eliminated you. So I'm sorry, you're the next in line of players.
Oh, so we're going to start with that, huh?
Making you relive.
It's okay. I'm over it now.
It takes a week.
In all seriousness, though, how have you been? What's going on?
I'm good. I healed back after a painful series, and now I'm just enjoying the matches left today. EG vs Golden Guardians. Both my old teammates on each team. So.
Do you have a favorite?
Oh, I'd pick right now. Maybe they won't see it.
Favorite teammates?
Yes.
Who are you rooting for now?
Here we go. Here we go.
FBI was my roommate for 3 years, so I have to hold his side more, you know.
Okay.
So I'll say
EG's gonna win, yeah. Okay.
Was he also the guy that you 1v1 the most, or is it someone else?
I don't know. Maybe I like mid laners. I like 1v1ing mid laners, so maybe someone else.
There it is.
Yeah, we saw the Beerson.
Yeah.
1v1. I don't know if you knew, but you are one of the top vote getters for the MVP finalists.
Top 10.
Yeah, so...
Yeah, I saw
top 10.
5 junglers that the role is definitely not broken.
Yeah, great role.
We did want to ask you, though, and put you on the spot. If you were voting now, who would be your MVP?
It will be Berserker or Blabber, but probably Berserker.
Yeah.
I feel like Blabber just played like Maokai a lot of games, and Berserker played Draven, so he has more spotlight.
There it is.
I have to give it to Berserker.
Do you think, with junglers,
Yeah.
that they get too many MVP votes and Player of the Game votes? Because a lot of times...
Nah, not really.
Oh, I like this answer. There it is.
I feel like it gets forgotten. Like you give like a sick kill to Zeri, and then like he goes on to carry the game, but no one remembers the kill you give him. They always remember like the quadra kill that your AD carry does in the team fight. So.
And you don't think that's possible unless the first gank works?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, okay.
So jungle's broken.
It's all about the gank.
Yeah, jungler's important.
Yeah, jungle's broken, right?
Yeah.
Blabber MVP?
Jungle's broken.
I'm anti-jungle MVP. Jungle's always winning MVP these years.
Yeah, it's true, actually. I feel like we've had a lot of jungle
They both
MVPs.
deserve it. Whoever
Yeah,
gets.
last split inspired. It's not every split.
Both players on C9 who 3-0'd FlyQuest yesterday. Kind of like it was surprising to me. I thought FlyQuest would be able to play C9 a lot closer, but C9 just came out and had an incredibly dominant performance. Closer, what were you expecting the 3-0?
After playing FlyQuest, I definitely didn't think they were good, so I was expecting like a yeah, I was expecting like a 3-0 or 3-1, but I think C9 is just different level than FlyQuest, so they were able to close it out 3-0.
What makes you think, or at least what is different about C9 from the rest of the teams that you think is making these games just so hard for other teams to like beat them?
I think they just play very solid, and the style they choose, like they play like very long range comps with Maokai, Varus, Heimerdinger, and like they execute it very good. I don't think other LCS teams will be able to be that successful with the drafts they are picking, but they are executing their drafts very well.
It feels like in their drafts, they can also attack different parts of the map depending on who they're playing against. It felt like there was a lot more attention given to Fudge in the previous series against CLG, whereas here it was like the counter pick bot lanes and they just chain gank down there, which like is a level of flexibility I don't think every team can have.
I agree.
Yeah, they seem so versatile, and you were talking about just like the bot lane. I think it was you, the bot lane picks and bans they can do. Like, they're kind of good at whatever they're going to be doing, and since the Varus, Heimerdinger, Varus,
Soraka.
And then you get rid of that, and it's like, okay, now you get to deal with his Aphelios.
Yeah, and get rid of that, then it's Berserker's every time.
Yeah.
I do want to ask you, though, since we're going to be seeing both the teams again, Raz gave you the more positive questions of what does Cloud9 do differently. But what do you think the biggest mismatch was between the perception of FlyQuest when they were, you know, clearly the best team in the league versus what we're seeing now, or even what you scrimmed against when you said, like, you don't think they're very good?
Like playing FlyQuest and scrims, I never thought like they were like super good. I do think they're good, but I never thought like, you know, when they went to the whole win streak, I think they just didn't improve that much, and the other teams caught up. Like they were winning many games of Prince. I think he was the main reason they were able to get so many wins in the early on the splits. He was like popping off and carrying pretty much every game, and Spica was playing pretty well as well. And I think when the other teams caught up, they kind of slowed down a bit. And that's what pretty much happens.
That makes sense.
I also felt like there was just a lot of volatility in the team. Vikla had a really good series against you guys, and then he was pretty bad in this one. You heard Berserker at the end of the day yesterday saying that he actually thought the biggest gap between any position, everyone was kind of tunneled on bot lane, but he actually said it was mid lane to him, where it felt like Vikla just got slammed over and over.
Yeah.
So a question to you, because like when we came into playoffs, we asked a question was asked to like the C9 players who they expect to be in the finals. Like Fudge, as an example, actually mentioned you guys, but then there would be people who would mention FlyQuest. There were some people that actually thought EG would make the run when they were healthy because they were ravaged by sickness. So who do you expect from these teams to be in the finals versus Cloud9? Who do you think is like the next best? Do you still think it's FlyQuest, or do you think any team?
Before seeing the EG series today, I think they play pretty good when they play against CLG, right? They 3-0'd them. So I think if they keep playing like this, I can see them beating FlyQuest and being in the finals.
That makes sense to me.
But I still think C9 is probably the best team.
Yeah, that tracks with what C9 actually has been telling us for weeks, which is that EG, especially from scrims, are actually the stronger team. Now we're going to pull up our Samsung SSD Fast 5 for this matchup. So this is how every single position player versus the LCS average. The thing that surprises me the most, actually, is that Licorice is top 100 CS going into this matchup.
This is from the playoffs average.
Yeah.
I would say those greedy Gwen games he had.
And the Olaf game.
The Olaf game.
Contributing. That's really fast, though.
Yeah, as well as Inspired, fastest jungle. Not a surprise. He's always been super efficient. What has your thoughts been on Inspired since he's come over?
He's definitely good. And early on the split, he played pretty good. Towards the end, I didn't think he was I was surprised while everyone was playing like the Wukong, Viego, Lee Sin stuff. I guess he played one Lee Sin game. He was like more so going towards like Sejuani and stuff like that. So I definitely want to see him play more aggressive style if possible. But overall, he's a good player.
Yeah. Because Wukong in the last series versus CLG was really good. Yeah. So he had a really good series individually. Same with Ssumday. There are a few players that you can pick out. I actually agree with your sentiment on Licorice. Licorice, just like his counter picks, is something that is really evolved Golden Guardians in the last series. I don't think it's going to happen this series. It's something that I'm interested in because that's what makes Red Side so much better. And that's going to be a conversation throughout the series, I'm sure, is EG was able to make use of Red Side and in their way, like for a best Malphite pick, whereas Licorice was able to find good picks on his Olaf and stuff like that. So I'm interested to see what teams can do on Red Side.
Yeah, I mean, I think the big question we all have just from the single series we've seen them play versus their final week 8 is, are EG back, right? Because we have the comparison numbers right here. Obviously, massive differences, especially in major lead, goal difference, Drake control, first turret and Drake are massive too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's safe to say they're back. I think it was a very topsy-turvy season for them. They were inconsistent a lot during the season, but they were still 10-5 in week 7. I've said this a bunch of times, and I think that's why it was a situation where it was like, yep, they got one bad week 8, and then they kind of comboed that with how they were looking through the rest of the regular season. People were like, see, look, they're terrible. The other foot finally dropped, and it was like, nah, they're just sick at home.
I think they are still living off 2022 a little bit, though. Like, I rewatched even the wins from earlier on in the year, and there were a lot where they were down 3,000 gold, 4,000
wins
gold,
in there for sure.
and they win. And then when we look at their record, they're like, oh yeah, they're 10-8. Like they were good, 10-5. Yet last week they looked really good. So I'm still letting them live off of 2022 because history does matter, and you're not like a new player just because it's 6 months later. So if I was looking at this split in a vacuum, I would actually say like, oh no, they haven't actually shown a high level of play. But I think if they are going to show that high-level play, it's because they're back to what they were doing last year.
Yeah, and recency is the only thing that matters when it comes to playoffs. I don't care what happened in week 8.
You don't care what happened last year? So when Faker was in the playoffs, you're like, this is just any other rookie.
Basically, yeah.
Matters.
He's just really good.
A little bit, just a tiny bit.
The only thing that matters.
Like, I will say the aberration of their poor portions of the split, mid-split, end of split, like because of how good they've been prior to that. So a little bit, I agree. History does matter. So I'll appease to that one, like just a little bit. But their series last was so damn good. And it's back to what had made them great, which is like Jojo working really well with Inspired, especially around Drake setups. I feel like they work really well together. Same with Vulcan. I think those 3 are the most important when it comes to generally just their team fight victories. And it's what made them great then, and I think it's what's making them great now.
they have the momentum right now, definitely, after that trio. So it's going to be exciting to see them.
True.
Yeah. And one thing that's super interesting is actually, I didn't realize this. Jat, I believe you were the one that pulled the stats, but these two teams...
Golden Guardians is a team of champions, weirdly enough. We're saying, like, this is the farthest Golden Guardians has ever been in playoffs. If they win here, it's going to be a new record for their org. We consider them this org that hasn't won anything, but they have players that have. Licorice won a title. River won 3 titles in the PCS. Stixxay's won a title with CLG, and huhi's won a title with Closer as well as with CLG. FBI has 1 title from OS as well, but it's actually very close across the two teams in terms of titles within their domestic league. And I just thought that it's surprisingly close.
Yeah, for me, what it amounts to is like when you're in a pressured situation of like a best of 5 in playoffs, just like the fact that you've been there before and it's not anything really different. Everybody gets nervous. That's going to be a thing. But I think for these players, they have been in those situations in the past. And I think Gori in one of the finals in the PCS, like that was an upset that he lost in. But he was still an incredible player and was still praised by everyone in that moment. And obviously he's being praised right now. So it's one of those things where I think naturally people think Golden Guardians and will think about their poor splits, but this is a completely different lineup and a different energy. Like even when they're losing points of the split, you ask the players, they feel like they should be winning. The confidence is exuding from them, and now they are in winning ways. So like it's hard for me to predict a series like this. Like we will talk about it when we get there, but I think they're a team that has constantly proven us wrong.
Yeah, I think the big thing where it starts, especially and here we go, Closer, because we're going to be revisiting your series. It starts with the 100 Thieves series, and Licorice in particular, I thought, you know, he's been kind of the lightning rod for a lot of criticism levied against Golden Guardians for the entirety of the year, but he really adjusted and showed up in this playoff series.
He was someone that a lot of people were talking about, like, hey, if Golden Guardians got a real top laner, then they'd be a threat. That was how a lot of the conversation in the regular seasons were going. And so it was really cool to me to see him show the other side that he actually made his name on back when he was on Cloud9 on more carry-oriented champions. And a big reason why they were able to defeat 100 Thieves was he said that he didn't feel like Closer was going topside enough and he could play these kinds of champions.
That's hard cap. I went back and watched the game. I ganked top like 3 times in 2 games. But I mean, Licorice played good in our series, but I don't think he is gonna be the difference maker in today's series. I think his job was like very easy against us. Like it was very obvious what we were trying to do. We're gonna pick a tank top and trying to play bot side, and they punished us well by playing like all these counter picks. But I think EG has seen how they want to play, and I think they will prepare an answer for it.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because I think EG on red side was actually really huge with the Ssumday Maokai pick, right? And so when you're looking at these two top laners, I don't think that Licorice is going to be able to have the same leeway in top side given how EG actually saved this counter pick specifically and played around Ssumday.
Yeah.
It's definitely hard. And I think for me personally, it just makes it a completely different series. Like the series meta with you guys like made it so he could do this uncontested. And I think he played well individually, where I can think that maybe he can have another good performance. But I'm just seeing clip after clip of his Maokai.
Man, what is with these top laners? I feel like you could have been picking this almost all year. And they're just like, now I'll just do it in playoffs. Is that a thing?
I don't know. All I can say is I played with Ssumday and we went against like Alphari, Summit, Repo, all these like carry picks, counter picks, and I never thought like we're gonna lose the game from top side. So I don't think Licorice is gonna be able to make a difference from top lane.
It actually does remind me of the Summit hype when he was on Cloud9 before that, and then when he faced you guys on 100 Thieves, Maokai.
Closer kicked him out.
Lee said Maokai.
Just like, nope.
And it's back. He's like, remembered it.
Obviously, Licorice was a massive part, but the big, massive play, right, was the Stixxay play. So now we're going to hear from Stixxay himself as well as a few other reactions to that play.
Look for the assassination and threat overload.
Hyper versus Hyper. Blitzcrank is a really nice wild card.
Just kill the wave. Okay, I'm hitting.
Just back. Can back.
I get mid.
Oh,
huhi's dead.
Oh my God, huhi just.
That was a really bad. That was really. They do get the wait. Front door.
Go in Stixxay 1v4. Zeri. Oh my God.
Double lift dies. And Stixxay lives.
Yeah.
It's over.
Is that
I was
GG?
joking.
That's game over, isn't it?
I'm dead.
It's gone. Pearson is the only
You guys can watch. It's not over.
I'm stopwatch. Golden Guardians don't let history.
Let's go.
They overcome the
That's
sun.
us, boys.
Nice one. Everything on their way as Golden Guardians upset 100 Thieves.
I mean, I was saying there was no one mid, or I didn't see anyone mid, so I was taking the tower, and then Sion ulted, so I was just like, can we back? And then Jay died, and I assumed it was really bad, and then I just saw that double-lift died, and I was like, oh, that's really good.
We knew Jinx had no flash from the previous fight, and I just saw the lantern on the ground. And my team, we got engaged on top, and huhi died. And Licorice was calling, hey, guys, I'm getting mid for free, but when I saw this happening and we were like hiding really well, I was like, I'm just gonna kill this guy.
You just flashed in 1v5.
Yeah, it was just pure instinct. Like my team was even calling to back up there, you know? Yeah. But I just saw the angle and I went for it. I was thinking about that as I walked off the stage, like, you know, shaking from adrenaline. I'm just thinking, wow, I just trusted myself there.
Yeah.
I mean, I was shaking because I made that like kind of, it was pretty risky, you know?
Seeing him making plays like that.
Yeah, I saw like the whole situation that Gwen was pushing mid. And then I was the one who was like telling Trevor, back up, back up. And then I just saw him going in, and then I just started clapping like on stage because I knew he won the situation for us. And yeah, I mean, like I think for him, like he just needs those kind of confidence. Yeah. And then he's like top tier AD carry.
Hello, I want to take a moment to break down that play that they were just talking about there a little bit, because you heard Stixxay acknowledge that like it was just instinct, and like he didn't even necessarily consciously think of all the variables that went into why that was actually a good play to go for. So we're going to do that with the power of hindsight and actually talk about the things that a pro player tends to internalize as a play is developing. Here, you see this engaged by 100 Thieves. I really like this idea. Anytime you're going up against a Baron push, if you can find a time where you can get a strong side fight and just blow somebody up to stop their push, this is generally a good investment of resources. But it did take a lot of cooldowns to make that happen. So while Licorice is pushing, you kill off the support and it kind of slows the Baron push. But it, like I said, took a lot of things. You see multiple ultimates down from both the Sion, the Wukong. The Thresh just missed a hook that Stixxay was getting threatened by. The only CC that's really left up around him is the Taliyah W. And this Lantern, you can see, has the littlest tick left. There's a cannon creep that's going to bait double lift over here, make him walk back forward for that. And it's just hard. I don't think Stixxay is counting all these cooldowns or anything like that. He probably knows that a lot of stuff is down, but he just sees a low health double lift and thinks that he can probably get this kill. And he goes for this really hyphy play. He goes for the R flash. This is gonna go, there we go. So he's gonna go R flash E, or excuse me, E, R, Q, auto, and then right here I think is the really important thing. As the flick is coming down, Stixxay goes for another Q. He had flash up, but realistically in terms of mouse timing, you wouldn't have time to get the Q off and flash backwards and just instantly flick it around. So he decides to commit to killing double lift, which I think speaks to that instinct and killer mindset that he had where he is all in on this play. So he eats the flick back in order to get that last Q off to get the kill. Flash cleanse away, able to stay alive with the Immortal Shield Bro proc. This forces Closer, unfortunately, to go chasing in for the kill. But we talked about how Zeri is a very fair and balanced champion, not able to get that one. And that was the kind of play that broke the game open.
The freeze frame you had did show a lot of space between Double and his team.
He was pretty far forward with that cannon creep. I was about to go back forward, but I was like, no, we don't need to do that.
The right clicks in.
I actually really liked how Stixxay said, like, I went backstage and realized, wow, I trusted myself. I think that's what, like, all these pro players have been missing. They've been playing for a long time, and when you go to, like, the lower tier teams, you lose that confidence, you lose that clear instincts. And then when he makes his play and he says, wow, I really did that, that's good to see.
Yeah, it feels great.
That's sweet.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And another player that we're going to talk about, you've played with, is huhi, who is going on a little, I guess, revenge tour through his ex-teammate.
Well, I'm dead.
Oh, that it? Oh, no!
Someone help me.
Oh, so he's knocking on the door with FBI and Ssumday. And I think Ssumday had a response as soon as he basically took a screenshot of the end of the game. And called out huhi specifically and said that he's coming for him.
We'll have to see what Ssumday said. Closer said like he was on Team Ssumday, so.
Yeah.
I'm coming for huhi. All right, okay.
The evil Ssumday.
Yeah, he's actually
the little
evolving.
known Ssumday.
Oh,
he's coming with his Malphite.
Oh, no.
All right.
Yeah, we'll see how that one goes. I mean, yes, the fact that Jay huhi is performing as well as he is. I mean, the last series I feel like is a little bit of an aberration, but just like how well he's been performing with the squad. And also we talked about how him and Stixxay as a duo have been working well together and how he's kind of like, what's been said is a little toxic. Like the fact that he's pushing them to get better and better and better. And so like that, I think, changes a lot the environment on the team, and it's working really good for the squad.
Yeah, and I do love the story that we have between huhi, FBI, and Stixxay, right? Like the AD carry that he played with last split. Now he's with Stixxay, who he used to be with when he played in the different positions.
It's very complicated because he also, like you said, played on CLG back in the day, then went to FBI support. Now he's back to Golden Guardians.
It's like a little love triangle.
It's a love triangle. It's very messy.
Yeah, I've heard we have a piece on it, actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm interested.
So I have Champion's Curse, a novel by ChatGPT. This is a tale of love and betrayal among LCS pro players. Thank you, Mark, for this. As the sun sets over the city of Los Angeles, the LCS pro players huhi, Stixxay, and FBI are preparing for their next match. They go through their warm-up routines and can feel the energy building in the arena. The tension between them is strong. Does this get like really, okay.
It's not erotic.
It's all, okay, I'll trust you, yeah. huhi and FBI have been teammates for years, but they've never quite seen eye to eye. FBI is the star of the team with a cocky attitude and a reputation for being a ladies' man. Sure, man. huhi, on the other hand, is quieter, more introverted with a deep love for the game and a strong sense of loyalty to his teammates. That one's accurate. Enter Stixxay, the new player on the team. He's young, talented, and beautiful, and he quickly catches the eye of huhi. As the season progresses, the three of them begin to spend more and more time together, both in and out of the game. At first, things seem to be going well, but as the love triangle deepens, tensions rise between FBI and Stixxay. They start to argue more frequently, and their play on the Rift suffers as a result. So they're on the same team?
It doesn't make 100% sense.
Okay, no, it's fine. It's an AI, yeah. huhi tries to keep the peace, but he can sense that something is brewing beneath the surface. And when he starts to experience paranormal events, creepy visions, strange dreams, and unexplainable physical feelings, he realizes that something truly otherworldly is at play. As the three of them struggle to navigate their feelings for each other and the strange forces that seem to be controlling their lives, they must also face off against their toughest opponent yet. The toughest opponents yet. I can't read. Both on and off the Rift. With playoffs on the way, huhi knows he must decide between his old flame or new love if he wants to lift the trophy. That's Champion's Curse by ChatGPT and Mark Zimmerman. What the f?
Thank you so much, Nero, for narrating. Yeah, we had some fun when we realized like the complicated history. We're like, this sounds like a love story. So we just prompted ChatGPT to write us a blurb for a love story between, a love triangle between FBI, huhi, and Stixxay, and it spat that out. Did a pretty good job. This is unfortunately not actually available for purchase anywhere, but
not yet.
How much?
Not yet.
Depending. If it were to be,
you can have this.
Yeah,
this whole year. You can have the one copy of Champion's Curse.
Yeah, I mean, in all seriousness, obviously, you've played with these players. What does huhi specifically bring to a team?
I think he's more like a team player, like a. I don't know, I feel like he is actually what Golden Guardians needs. Like, Golden Guardians, if you look at their roster, they don't really have like a standout leader. I mean, they have good players like River and Gori. They are probably like the key players, but they don't have anyone that is gonna collect them and get them on the same page. So that's what huhi does. And actually funny, when we were playing like scrims against CRG as well, I would remember huhi praising Stixxay. And now they are playing together.
Oh, no. Even when he was back with FBI, he was looking at this. He was eyeing him back there.
Yeah. He was always standing with FBI's in listening range. He's like, wait, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
It's gonna be a fun one.
Between support and mid, huhi is actually about to pass Xmithy for the 7th most played LCS games of all time. So he'll do that today regardless of win or loss, which is absolutely massive. I think a lot of people who maybe are newer to the LCS might have forgotten the CLG days in the fact that he is actually reuniting with Stixxay from them when he played mid lane.
Yeah, I think the fact that we did our LCS 10, top 10 players in multiple positions, top 5 players, in multiple positions. Yeah. He was like number 6 on both the mid and support lists. But he's someone who was like in that conversation as one of the most decorated players of all time in North America.
Yeah, plus I think just all those games do lead to your leadership capabilities, right?
Yeah.
Like he's just been through so many experiences. Yeah. He's done it on multiple different roles. He's played international events. He's won LCS titles. So he's just a really good player to have on your team.
The man's the glue.
Yeah. I mean, like you guys said, he won LCS with 2 different roles, even though like he might have like mechanical misplays or anything, but he's definitely something important for his team.
Yeah. Do you feel that like outside of game too? Because in game, yes, he's pretty vocal, but outside of game, do you feel like he's somebody that like pulls the team together?
Yeah, definitely. I remember when I first came to America, even though he was like in our academy team, he was like very friendly and I felt welcomed instantly.
Yeah.
So I think he definitely helps. I mean, he is Korean as well, so he helps with the communication as well. I'm sure he helps how the new players get used to the country. So he's definitely valuable for his team.
Yeah. I love huhi, but I also do know he's up against EG, and I am someone who looks at patterns all the time.
Okay.
Good pattern.
Are we doing?
All right.
Do you want to see a pattern?
Okay, I'm ready.
Okay, this is the bracket from 2022.
Why you guys always show the games
it's
I
a year
love?
ago. You can see EG is here.
This is why we invite
then
you on.
EG is here. They go from here to here with the win. Then they go from here to here with the win. And then they go from here to here with a win. So we have EG being the champions. Patterns. Look at the bracket now. Switch it.
Yeah, I don't think that's how it works.
Boom! It's the same all the way through the end.
Oh my God!
It's a completely different team.
Right.
but they didn't lose in the upper bracket.
That's not part of the pattern.
Oh, so if you ignore the parts of the pattern that aren't part of the pattern.
It's a pattern.
Yeah, gotcha. Okay.
Exactly.
EG.
All right.
There it is.
So you're predicting EG.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Because of the pattern. Nothing else.
They're better too.
There's no way no one was brave enough to say 3-0. I'm changing it to 3-0.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I thought, because we were talking off camera before this,
yeah,
I thought you were gonna go 3-0.
I was going to go 3-0, but then I was like, I want to give my man huhi one game.
It's changed, yeah.
Yeah, I go with 3-0.
This is correct.
I think they're better.
I didn't want to, yesterday I didn't want to do C9 3-0 because I didn't want to seem like overly flamey. I like how you're doing this 3-0.
I hope Golden Guardians has a lot of the FU hats prepared should they pull off an upset against everyone here.
They're gonna screen cap this, and then if they manage to win this series,
I won't be here.
We're all getting flamed.
I'm not going to be here.
Will not be here.
Because they will, look, I don't want to be here when they find out.
66-34.
Yeah, so it's like 2/3 of the fans are predicting EG over GG.
I just think EG matches very well against what GG is trying to do. Like the counterparts and the roles, they just match up pretty good. I don't really know who can make the difference in GG.
Yeah, I mean, I do think that there are going to be some close games because, like, River, Gori versus Jojo Inspired, they're both very strong mid jungles, right? Like, the roles are evenly matched. I just feel like EG is slightly better in most roles.
Yeah, and same with Stixxay huhi. I think Stixxay huhi in the last series, I mean, just in general, have had good, strong laning phases. So bot lane's really important as per usual. I mean, that's the most nothing statement of all time with how this split has been. Bot lane's really useful, but I think Stixxay has been playing really well in lane, so I want to see if that continues.
All right. Bot lane's really useful. We're all predicting EG, and it's time to get into the series.
EG are back in style.
Playoffs mean big moments. There's more eyes on you. There's more chance to be remembered. More chances to make big plays in big moments. That's kind of what I play for.
No way, Golden Guardians! Have they done it?
I just never felt like I could truly win until I played with this roster. I'm kind of like putting up my heart into this playoffs.
Stixxay! Oh my God! Stixxay transplant, he flashes back, he's still alive!
Every situation as it could be my last, you know? So I'm kind of just putting all I have into it, and I think this is my best chance ever.
Welcome to the LCS. We have got an amazing series today. I'm Gabby. This is Kobe. Are you ready for it?
So ready for this. The entire analyst desk is predicting EG to win. Cloud9 predicted EG to win. In fact, predicted them to stomp. But the Golden Guardians, they're primed for an upset here now. Everything is stacked against them. They really do have something to be said for the momentum of, making a big hero play in playoffs. Stixxay came on the dive and he talked a lot about confidence and how confidence affects all of the players on Golden Guardians as individuals and how much better they play when they have that. That's something they have to have coming out of their victory over 100 Thieves, and something they're going to have to channel here if they want to prove everybody wrong.
Now, what a time for hero plays to be made when both of these teams started in the lower bracket, but have already proven that they can go toe-to-toe with the rest. Without further ado, let's meet the teams. Looking to shine as brightly as the name they bear and scare all who stand in their way, it's Golden Guardians. Facing GG, fresh off of 3-0ing their first round of playoffs, we've got Evil Geniuses. Today, it is do or die. Two teams taking to the stage, only one will make it to Raleigh. Will Evil Geniuses get a chance to repeat last spring's title, or will Golden Guardians punch a ticket to their first finals weekend? We'll find out next. It's Evil Geniuses and Golden Guardians.
Yeah, I mean, GG has good moments, good games sometimes. They had this 2-week period in the middle of the split where they legit looked like one of the top teams in the region.
The win versus 100 Thieves was a pretty big morale and confidence boost for us, so I'm gonna go ahead and say that we can win the whole thing.
We can't know whether or not they'll be able to find that form again for when we play them.
I think we match up pretty well versus them, just across all the lanes. Similar to us, they kind of had a downward trend towards the end of the split, so I think they're more likely to be a bit more inconsistent.
I don't think their balling is that, they're not bad, they're good. They're pretty solid, so we need to be on top of our game, but I think I just think against any team that we play, if we're able to kind of overcome the hurdles that we have or how we run it down sometimes or have these mistakes in team fights, I feel like we can take on anyone, and GG is the weakest team, so we just must get past them. So we'll start with them.
Vulcan, always ready to be self-critical after performances, but I feel like that's part of his superpower, having that micro mindset for him and the rest of the team to always perform when it matters.
Yeah, you have to have that extra look and be critical if you want to be the best. Now, I hope we get right into Champion Select because this is a really interesting matchup. I think something that Golden Guardians haven't gotten enough credit for this whole split is how versatile all of their players are. And in looking at their pick ban history here, they have so much versatility in every single role, playing a wide set of diverse champions, talking about it being one of the keys in their success over 100 Thieves, how Licorice basically went to the coaching staff and said, hey, is enemy jungler ever coming top in the first 10 minutes? No? Okay, give me Gwen, give me Olaf. I'm going to play much more aggressively now and punish. And these types of things, that adaptability here, is something they're going to have to flex in this series. Double jungle bans from EG, no surprise here. With the Elise and the Sejuani still being so highly prized. Golden Guardians, I would think either like a Rakan or a Lee Sin ban maybe. Inspired is definitely a very scary jungler to have to worry about, and since they're already double banning Elise and Sejuani, they're going to have first pick. Could get a little dicey.
There's definitely a lot of talk around Inspired, but also specifically the junglers on both of these teams, how they work alongside their mid laners to make plays and really dictate not just how these teams play in game, but curious about how it does affect draft. I know Emily, for instance, was talking on the dive about being that both of these teams have supports that are willing to make those early lockouts of their lane, to have those plays mid. How are they going to enable that through the draft and the champions they bring?
I'm hoping Maokai gets another round of nerfs, because honestly, I'm so bored of this champion throughout the entire demonic phase, and the nerfs to the demonic build, everyone just goes full tank now. So we still get first pick Maokai here, has so much power when you get to setting up objectives. Sapling vision and zoning is still there. but really this big team fight control as well, locked in for EG really early. And they throw down the Caitlyn, even on 13-5 with the nerfs. Now, this champion has definitely dropped down quite a lot. Not as easy to bully people with early, but Stixxay, no hesitation here for Golden Guardians. They lock in the Caitlyn, so you have to think something like a Lux will be paired with that, and EG response will be immediate here.
Golden Guardians already displaying some of that flexibility with an unexpected pick. They were forced to dive a bit deeper into the pool because they're longer series previously.
Some of my favorite counters into Caitlyn lanes are double poke lanes and going with stuff with Ezreal, but they insta-lock the Jinx and the Tristana. Holy moly. We got the Jojo Tristana again. He was the first mid laners in the LCS to pull it out, and they're going back to the Jinx. I do think Jinx is very powerful right now, even though Jinx has gotten a bad reputation in North America because of a lot of the losses racked up in specifically that 100 Thieves series where Doublelift was targeted so heavily, and Golden Guardians were quite good at diving backline and killing AD carries. So we'll see if they can replicate it here.
And FBI, though, on the other side, looking to turn the tide on how people think of Jinx and perhaps have some strong performances for EG if the rest of the team can keep him safe. But interesting with that and the Tristana being locked in here early. And for Golden Guardians, as they continue through their bans here, Annie, very prominent because of that continued flexibility offered, but Blitzcrank forever coming more and more into drafts to get that lockdown into that backline pick.
Yeah, don't want to have any sort of kill threat supports in the bottom lane here. A little bit worried about hook into trap combinations. It looks like we may not actually even get a Lux ban from EG though, which is the tried and true combination with Caitlyn. But since Golden Guardians did not draft it in the first 3, seems like they are fine and they're saying, hey, we've got backup plans anyways. Hi, Ovalie. Hey. Hi, Nick. Rub his head for good luck. Rub his head for good luck. He loves that.
Oh gosh, you're setting up the trend. Now every time we see Golden Guardians coming on stream, they're gonna have to be rubbing his head before sitting down in their chairs.
Shiny Anero is the best Anero.
Nice and fresh and clean on the co-stream today, and hoping that his players play the same in-game as well, as we have finished the ban phase here. But this is one of those drafts where we got a little bit of that switch up in what was locked in earlier with not going towards that support.
Yeah, and now I'm really curious, because the Lux question, as soon as Caitlyn shows up, is always floating around. It's about what Golden Guardians want to pair with it here. You can just go like Karma and you be a double poke lane yourself as well. So like that support the Caitlyn, but the crux of it is you want to be aggressive. You want to be another very, very aggressive support. Heimerdinger does fill that role. And actually, now that Heimerdinger, even with the nerfs to the health of the turrets, with Caitlyn, you can have really, really strong combinations. Looks like the hover on the Ashe, another champion that was nerfed for support role here, but Hawkshot is one of the best tools to give to Inspired. He's so good with extra jungle information and being able to create a big difference. So they lock it in. Triple AD carry, triple marksman composition technically here from Evil Geniuses with the Maokai front line.
I know that we were hoping to get a little crazy in the draft of this series, but I feel like we are getting some of the dynamicism that we were hoping for.
Yeah, I'm just blocking another sort of tank here on the front side for Evil Geniuses. You just need, when you've got triple AD carries, need a little bit of extra protection here. Ssumday is no surprise. This is the most popular top laner on the patch for actually several patches now. Very, very powerful, being able to build full tank and still have kill threat towards the back line. But really, question is, Golden Guardians saving their counter pick for Licorice, and he throws down the Fiora into it. Ooh. So they will have spread map pressure here. Can Golden Guardians get some split pushing going? Caitlyn Heimerdinger lane on bottom side to try and get some aggressive push going. Taliyah moving from mid lane, and then a little bit of support into a Fiora early on to get her scaling goes a long way.
All right, with that considered, the split pushing attempts from this draft from Golden Guardians, all the poke available on the EG side. Where are you leaning towards? How do you think these match up against one another?
Well, I think that Evil Geniuses have a really, really good setup here with the Jinx Tristana for late game carries and a beefy front line. So if they can keep structure in this game, it does look very good for EG for me, but Golden Guardians have a lot of damage. When you have this much damage on the field, you can make your own win conditions.
Lots of damage available to them and opportunities to lay down the law against evil geniuses who have been favored by the analyst desk, favored in predictions, but they are ready for an upset on the upper side. So we'll see who between evil geniuses and Golden Guardians pulls ahead. Okay, Kobe. What are we looking at coming into this?
Well, whenever you've got a Heimerdinger, usually there's a fight over Heimerdinger turrets early on in the bottom side, since pushing is so important for both these lanes. So looks like we got a good old-fashioned level 1 10-person party.
A little bit of zoning off, both sides very aware of the other's presence here in bot lane. Huhi getting quite chunked down. Ssumday putting himself in front, goes for the flash, gets the flash out of Stixxay. EG want to grant that as enough of a reward for pushing forward, so they go into the cove, but FBI is in dangerous territory, bringing the sweeper out to get that last look onto the AD carry of EG, but they do retreat without giving over a kill.
The big victory is had by EG, though. They get the flash cleanse off the Caitlyn. And when you've got this ever important war of pushing on the double range matchups bottom lane, no summoner spells for Caitlyn. With the nerfs on the patch as well, looks like EG with a nice little surprise attack level 1 at the very beginning. No kills, but pretty good summoner spell trade.
And an expectation from both sides to get scrappy immediately off the bat. Let's see what Golden Guardians coach expects here today.
Thanks, Gabby. I'm here with Golden Guardians coach Spooks. Very interesting draft. I see 3 marksmen on the side of EG. Can you walk me through a little bit about what happened?
I think Tristana Maokai is like very prominent, particularly in NA. I think both comps are a little wonky, honestly. We're lacking a bit of frontline. They're just like full AD, essentially. So it's going to be very volatile early. I'm glad we won the level 1. We have no sums on Caitlyn. It's a bit rough, but I think if the game's stable, we have a good shot late game. Yeah.
Okay, so what needs to happen, say, in the first 10 minutes of this game for you to feel good about the start?
Yeah. So everything's going to be based around bottom. As long as we keep it stable, our bot lane stays healthy, I think it'll be fine. That should just be our main goal. Yeah.
All right, well, thank you very much, Golden Guardians coach Spooks. Let's send it back to the casters.
Pressure on the bot lane to keep things stable and healthy even after losing both summoners on Stixxay.
Yeah, well, unfortunately for Golden Guardians, yeah, the double summoner spell blown early is going to make that task a little bit more difficult. Hawkshot as well finding River as he's crossing over, so EG...
Oh, Jojo in some trouble, does flash towards tower as River shows his presence.
Nice little job here by River. Hawkshot saw him, so he's like, you know what, fine. I will divert my path. Instead of just crossing straight from red quadrant over to blue quadrant, he passes through mid on his way down, so it'll be a little bit delayed in clearing camps, but honestly, very, very efficient. And that's a case of something I always love putting a magnifying glass on, is using the information that you know your opponents have against them. Since they just saw you on Wukong rotating over this way, he changes his path, gets a flash out of mid lane from Jojo.
Which is so important in this matchup when, Kobe, you were just saying in draft that Inspired has such a good way of capitalizing upon any vision intel he is given. So now, stepping up to River a tad, River has to hold that same expectation to make the most when vision is granted on either side, as both are now currently on the bot side.
Yep, and should be able to find him here. Not going to be any sort of big loss for River. He should be able to clear back up towards the other side. And so Inspire just leaves an extra low ward here for the bottom lane, so the bottom lane can keep pushing. Thank you, Observers. Definitely a very good one, protecting all avenues that Wukong could do, since River is very sneaky as a jungler. Something he was known for a lot on Jarvan was going for these unexpected gank paths and see if he can get around all of this extra coverage. Looks like he's going to go for the recall. Krugs are respawning right now. Don't want to be too efficient.
And River has executed that strategy on multiple picks as well, while J4 definitely the most notable. The last time that Evil Geniuses and Golden Guardians faced off against one another in Week 5 and River was on the Sejuani, the way they were able to execute on that win was often coming from a unique angle, throwing out the ultimate to start things off and allowing the rest of the team to proceed. As a leading voice alongside Gori, you gotta look out for Gori too to be able to hold strong in that mid lane. Inspired making the play, knocking him towards Jojo. Last hit, not able to commit for the kill. One tower shot puts Jojo low enough to back off.
Yeah, Gori flashes him under tower. I thought he was going to push him even further under tower with the W, but did not.
Ssumday flashing away. River here in response. First blood drawn by Golden Guardians.
Huge! That's what champs like. We're talking about a little bit of help to a Fiora early on can go a very, very long way. River able to get in there. Flashes. They get the kill onto Ssumday, whose flash is burned yet again. See if Licorice can have a really big game for himself, because he was a huge part winning player of the series in their series over 100 Thieves to even get to this position.
After being one of the pieces many took such a microscope towards during the regular season, stepping up and making that pivot in the draft to be a strong aspect for this team. But one thing when looking at the alternative side with this bot lane, many have noted how even these two can feel. So how that plays out in a lane where it's so much about applying that pressure and really winning out in this matchup becomes that much closer for something to watch.
And River gonna wrap around again. Remember, he blew Jojo's flash early on, goes down, clears out the ward. Just trying to keep the River here clean so they can continue to threaten towards that mid lane.
All right, and all the while, considering that Licorice had previously been granted that kill, we do have to be worried about how he's going to build.
Ssumday does not like getting ganked. He went and bought a control ward and left it on River's red and warded his Raptors. Ssumday says, this is not going to happen again, River. You're not going to catch me sleeping. Has a lot of vision coverage up on the top side. Try and keep track of this Wukong.
Very much paying respect to not just what River can do, but Licorice as well. Meanwhile, over on the bot side, the dragon has spawned, so both junglers keeping their eye in that regard. A control drop down, but taken down by River. So intel granted for both Golden Guardians and Evil Geniuses of where the junglers currently are.
Pretty big stuff here not to have flash on the Taliyah as well. So I think Golden Guardians trying to do a little bit of extra protection. Screen work here for Gori. Could get a little bit dicey there. Inspired finishing up his red and should be able to make his way on over before any sort of action breaks out though. Bottom side, pushing continues. I think it's a pretty decent win here for Evil Geniuses with how it has gone so far, even just being as close as it is. Trying to deny Caitlyn Heimerdinger from pushing in on towers at all, while being able to use the hawk shot. This one, not just checking for a lane gank from River. I kind of like that, but I feel like it gives away what you're trying to do here.
And you can tell that by the response of Stixxay and huhi on the opposite side. Scuttle being taken by River currently. But yes, as you're saying before, Kobe, you do have to be worried about what this Caitlyn can do later. So trying to minimize any opportunity for Golden Guardians bot lane to get ahead, keeping the pressure up, farm at least even is one way for Evil Geniuses to keep control over that side of the map, despite a bit of warding being done for Golden Guardians across that River side.
Yeah, and on one item, on two items, I feel like the Jinx is going to be much more valuable than this Caitlyn without a big lead. Meanwhile, is going to be the support roam timers here. huhi coming out, they find the control ward, get their vision on the Rift Herald, and Tristana's rotating bottom, so EG are sending Jojo. He has a leashed teleport ready for the Tristana. I love this play. You get to utilize Tristana's tower killing, turret plate taking abilities, while also being able to have the teleport close enough to Rift Herald, to your own safe tower here, to really threaten Golden Guardians. And either way, you're gonna be able to get something out of this lane swap as far as value goes. Gori does have the Taliyah ultimate ready, but Golden Guardians say, fine, do your Rift Herald, Evil Geniuses. We will just take the dragon. We've got Heimerdinger turrets, plenty of extra DPS here to make that pretty quick as well.
Neutral objectives traded across the map. Golden Guardians picking up this first dragon for themselves. And then all the while Inspired working to finish off the Rift Herald on the top side. And then Jojo gets the chance to just keep farming up, keep becoming that strength later on in the game. This also allows Evil Geniuses to offer more pressure onto Licorice, who it does seem like they're trying to make sure he doesn't get too out of hand, bringing Ashe up here as well, throwing down the ult, see if they could get some capitalization.
Yeah, unless Licorice decided to dodge upwards there. That one's never hitting, so Vulcan does get a whiff on his first one, but we did also see the teleport from Jojo up to mid. That means they're going to give up a turret plate bottom to Gori in exchange for Jojo rotating with the rest of the squad towards the Rift Trail, towards top half of the map. You'll be able to pick up the big minion wave there and get the experience as well.
And across the board with gold as well, fairly even in most of these lanes with the exception of Licorice versus Ssumday off of that first kill to kind of kick things off, and not very bloody thus far.
Yep, no conflict so far, not really a reason for it to arise. Flash is coming right back up on carries as well, so looks like we are going to have a little bit more of a lull. I like this rotation back though. For EG, wait out for the next Ashe arrow cooldown before you try and burn another one. Looks like Jojo gets the push on mid and hovers, but not really going to make any extra move up there towards Licorice. With Ghost ready on the Fiora and having wave control, he's pretty safe.
What do you think of the impact of Tristana coming back in this mid lane position? Not just with Jojo, we've seen Vikla play as well, and
oh, man.
Oh, there's the land and the stun up. Jojo's hopping in right now, trying to make use of that Tristana, using the buster shot into the rest of the team. And that one is clean. Finish off with a kill for Jojo. River risking to be next, but has the opportunity to escape. And EG really following up on the play.
Oh, Gori flashes and Vulcan nails him. He missed the one up top on Licorice, no biggie. Shrug that off. As soon as that Ashe arrow is up though, that cooldown we're talking about, he just nails Gori with the flash. Oh, that is a heartbreaker because Tristana annihilates turret plates, explosive shot on them, Rift Trail charging through, 4 turret plates. That is one rich Yordle. Jojo going to be able to take over this game. If you remember back to the first game of Tristana mid this year in the LCS, it was Jojo. And again, it was very low kill count, but very high turret destruction from him very early on. And they were able to snowball super effectively. Here's another look at it. It's from the Fog of War, but it's a straight line flash. That's why I start screaming. As soon as you see that, you know Gori's like, well, it's the worst of all worlds here. Not only am I dead, but I also lose my flash. And the Taliyah will be very vulnerable. The Tristana will be very rich. Now we get to see Jojo Unleashed. Is able to complete his Kraken Slayer 12.5 minutes with upgraded Berserker Greaves. So he gets to jump forward with Reckless Abandon.
Was about 1,000 gold up on Gori after that play, and it is showing in his build thus far with that mythic completion. EG nearly cresting to 1K soon enough in their gold lead. But the proactivity of them working out so far with another land here from Vulcan, and following up with Inspired throwing out the ult, and there are a couple routes onto multiple members, which means an immediately blast of huhi. Golden Guardians down their support. The sacrifice they'll make for those ults used by EG.
This is looking really one-sided so far. It's Evil Geniuses throwing out these Ashe arrows, but the Ashe arrows are looking like nukes. Every time he fires one, ever since the top side play, just instant kill here. Ashe arrow into Maokai ultimate is such a strong guaranteed engage option for Evil Geniuses. Picking off another one here. Dragon, still plenty of time to spawn, so Golden Guardians, you know, revival here. Huhi's back up, but now there's no flash on Heimerdinger, no flash on the Taliyah either. Both of those will be very vulnerable to Mr. Sniper Vulcan.
Yeah, those snipes are kind of those mid-range hits from EG, and Really clean follow-up there. Kobe, with that considered though, you're saying it's looking a little one-sided. How worried should Golden Guardians be? Or is it just finding their opportunity to really get the lockdown onto one of these carries in these fights?
I'd say very worried at the moment. They're going to try and get some vision control for themselves here for Dragon's setup. They do have Caitlyn and Heimerdinger. Both these champions benefit tremendously from getting to the objective first and be able to set up. You can get a trap line, plus you get your turrets down. So they will be able to start it up for themselves, but Evil Geniuses, look at those cooldowns. Ashe, Arrow, and Maokai ultimate have just come off cooldown. They're going for it again.
Golden Guardians have to be scared of that. And there's Maokai ult right here, gets a route onto River, but in the end, Golden Guardians were postured for Dragon. They take it, and EG don't contest too much.
Turret's gonna die though, and it's gonna get Jinx excited. So Golden Guardians, while they did get the objective, they give up the mid lane control to do so.
And another hit from Enchanted Crystal Arrow, followed up by the Jinx Rocket. You got so many long-range ults to just chunk some damage from EG that you know is going to get more and more powerful in future team fights.
Yeah, and they lose out a little bit because there was a minion wave that pushed up to the mid tower. So EG, while it didn't look like they got, you know, really anything there, they got a little bit of damage, but they did zone the rest of Golden Guardians from a slower rotation to pick up at least part of the minion wave towards mid tower, denying a little bit more gold and continually, incrementally increasing this gold lead. 2.1 thousand the gold lead for Evil Geniuses, but Golden Guardians, at least they do have these dragons now stacking for themselves.
And the dragon stacking over for Golden Guardians, but a lot of that gold that was afforded to EG, breaking down that tower that had previously had the Rift Herald on it as well, which is what gave Jojo some of that gold lead.
And losing your mid tower really early on can make it super difficult to fight the next setup. But look at the top side of the map too. Golden Guardians are taking this bottom turret, but EG are making a top side play towards Licorice with 4 people. Vulcan heads up, he clears out the vision, and they will just pick up the Rift Herald to continue taking down turrets. Jojo gets hit by the seismic.
Jojo in it, lands an E onto Gori, but can't charge it up, and the damage back is too strong. Buster's had to get Gori off of his back.
All right, no follow-up there. The other side had just recalled. So it's just going to be clean Rift Herald pickup in exchange for bottom side push from Golden Guardians. Nice little bit of chunk from them. And they do have a lot of damage, as we mentioned. So once you start opening them up the map here, we'll see if Licorice can get anything done in the side lanes. Already up to the Divine Sunder with his Ghost ready on the Fiora. Meanwhile, Evil Geniuses here doing a pretty good job consolidating. They just bring this front line over. They've got double Kraken AD carries ready to go in these team fights. As long as the Wukong doesn't get onto both AD carries at the same time, Jojo's spread out from FBI to have some dual threat positioning here, then it's going to be pretty hard for Golden Guardians to make a move forward in a team fight. And it's probably just going to be more about Golden Guardians trying to push out waves, trying to play the map, because EG, they're the ones with all the priority as far as the setup.
Because the ways that each of these teams are opening up the map is different. EG having that mid turret down, offering more movement for themselves across with more safety to set up the vision across the river. But Golden Guardians can take the fact that they did get that bot turret and are starting to offer that pressure on those side lanes.
Also should say the steel caps are at a tremendously high value for Golden Guardians. A little bit of armor will go a long, long way here. Steel caps reducing the autos from all of the AD carries, and since Inspired on Maokai is also going full tank Maokai, there's not even like demonic AP damage. So it is truly, truly, truly pure attack damage here from the side of Evil Geniuses. And Golden Guardians, even some of the more offensive characters that are not full tanks, just fitting some armor into their builds, especially early game, is definitely going to help.
And Licorice, though, might need a little bit of help on this top side with the presence of Evil Geniuses. Vulcan wanting to set up the play for Inspired, but Licorice started walking away so quickly to be able to create that space before the attempted dive.
Tickles. Not an Ashe arrow fired here by Vulcan because he knows it'll just get reposted. And another calm, collected play here from Evil Geniuses. Pretty similar to the first time around. And Jojo pushing mid here with Tristana explosive shot means they get the Herald's second charge off on top side while pushing mid wave and have plenty of time to reset for the Dragon. So this one, 50 seconds in the future. You don't want to give up another one here to Golden Guardians, because even though it is just the sole point, 3 dragons before the soul arrives, that makes it very dangerous. Because then all it would require from Golden Guardians to actually complete soul would be a steal or something like that. And honestly, if you gave a Cloud Soul extra move speed to a team that wants to play the entire map here, has a Fiora, has a Wukong, both benefiting so much from extra move speed there, it would give them a little bit of pause at least. You know, the AD carry is trying to worry about some flanks. Licorice, though, under attack.
And this time walking right into the arrow. Not in line for Jinx, but in line for the slams from Ssumday and Jojo. Rocket jump forward. Last auto to do it. Jojo with the kill.
All right. His last auto was enough damage, so technically the flash was an extra expenditure, but a super high value. Again, arrow from Vulcan finds a kill, and Ssumday teleports down. It's a double teleport back to the dragon. EG, they're gonna get their pick, and they don't want to give it up. This wall is pretty early.
EG aren't in the vicinity just yet. Posturing as Golden Guardians wrap around through jungle to get the angle onto the dragon. They know they have the tools to get in there to try and attempt to steal if they want, but now are worried about the poke being thrown by Evil Geniuses. Vulcan marked low, but Ssumday zoning off river. They try to turn towards dragon and have to be wary of the teleport on the backside, getting the route onto river. Licorice wrapping around. Inspired, does he see him? Joins the jungler. The Soul Later put in some work. Gori getting a kill. It's Golden Guardians throwing back on this fight. 3 of them taken away. Onto the dragon they go. Ssumday and Inspired can't do it.
And onto the Baron. That's all 3 AD carries in the dirt. You got Wukong spinning around on all of them. Evil Geniuses collapse. Not only do the Golden Guardians get their soul point, their 3rd dragon, they also should be able to get this Baron. 10 seconds left on Jojo, 9 on FBI, so neither of the high damage carries are here. It's just the tank frontline, low damage, no Ssumday ultimate, no nothing here for EG. If they manage to do anything, it would be a miracle.
And that arrow was thrown out for mostly vision because of the timing before anyone can come through. Not enough from the rocket from FBI, so a secured Baron here by Golden Guardians.
Oh, this is so massive. They wipe out the Evil Geniuses gold lead that they had been able to accrue with all of the turrets they had been killing. And they get their dragon stacking to continue. Look at this arrow, though. Observers are giving EG another thing to celebrate about after they feel bad for him, I think, after losing so much. Yeah, losing so much previously. Jojo, that flash actually, not having flash now for this fight, let's take a look at how all the AD carries got smashed here, because River had a good clone initially on the Q3 from Ssumday, and then they make the all-in. River flashes for it. He immediately kills Vulcan. Kites to the other side. Stixxay flashes over the wall, and then FBI kind of walks into the Wukong, finished off with a bunch of extra rocket damage there from huhi, and able to follow it up. So massive, massive stuff there for Golden Guardians, and now they're going to push for more.
Getting some work on this Red Bull Baron buff already. What an advantage they have swung towards their favor, evening out the gold for a moment before a slight build of Evil Geniuses, but that's top turret going down by Golden Guardians with Licorice on that push.
Now, with no summoner spells on Jinx or Ashe or Tristana, EG's comp is looking so fragile. Very, very scary stuff here. Golden Guardians will be able to assault on all sides. Looks like they call Gori over to 4-1 split push here, so Gori's gonna back up the mid push with these 4 members. Baron empowered cannon minion will slowly chip away at this one. Caitlyn extra range here is enough. And on the side lane, Licorice gets to keep up the pressure on Jojo.
All of these AD carries look a lot more shrimpy when you don't have a map to safely move through, and a lot of fear for the push that Golden Guardians can have. Now executing across this mid turret. Inspired wanted to slow it down, but Golden Guardians keep up the pressure, both in top with Licorice and the rest of the team here on mid.
See about that top lane, because honestly, Jojo's done a pretty good job clearing out even Baron empowered minions from the Fiora split push, so looks like Golden Guardians aren't going to make too much extra headway here with the Baron. Still sitting at almost the 2,000 gold Baron power play, so definitely decent for them, and taking down all outer towers here makes it much more difficult for EG to set up their team fights. They have to worry about so many more flank angles now because they have no outer tower defenses. River gets to sneak around through the jungle, clearing out vision. looking for possible plays for themselves, and Licorice here on the Fiora with the Ravenous completed. Now you're really feeling strong because you can annihilate those minion waves with the AoE, as well as having the Divine Sunder for your duels with your opponents. Golden Guardians play off this momentum now. They just have to keep up the pressure, keep pushing. Only a minute in advance here for the next dragon, so push out on that top side, get your control wards, respawn. Look at that, already in inventory. All 5 members, including the AD carry, buying 2 control wards. Golden Guardians, they're gonna get full vision around this dragon in preparation for Soul. And it's quite an early Soul at that.
And if anyone knows how to play off of that momentum, it is Golden Guardians. Multiple players talking through multiple pieces of content about keeping that mental strong, keeping that confidence, maintaining it when the pressure is up, and that's what allows you to make those plays around the dragon, to feed it into the Baron, to bring this back to an even game after the earlier, really persistence of Evil Geniuses.
And EG, they're trying to make a duo push here up on top side. Inspire hovering Jojo. They're trying to do a little bit of a bait there, but Licorice isn't going to overextend quite yet. Inspired's still hovering around in Fog of War there. They're trying to use Jojo's aggressive style and his personality as a bit of bait there, hoping to bait someone in, and it's not going to actually take. They will be able to get the turret up on top side in advance of the dragon spawning, but that should be it.
Inspired accompanying Jojo to do so. I do feel like you can see a lot of players' personalities in how they are in the game of League of Legends, but Jojo's definitely one at the top that really feels in tune with how he plays and how he really tackles the game from that competitive angle, and being a condition for Evil Geniuses right now to keep up that pressure on the turrets, because look what's happening for Golden Guardians, baby. They're just gonna finish off that dragon over here. Get that soul. And what did that cloud soul do? Kobe, what were you talking about? What this soul could do for Golden Guardians?
So much damage here on this team, and the soul is going to give them the extra move speed here to be able to play the side lanes, be able to look for these flanks. Lots of extra mobility on Fiora, who's already incredibly hard to catch. So we'll see. It's difficult for EG, but they do have the guaranteed engage. I would say wait until you get your double Infinity Edge power spike here for Jojo and FBI. Then you can go for your Ashe era Maokai attempt at the big team fight and try and fight your way out of that with double marksman scaling. There is a possibility here still for sure, but I think Golden Guardians look primed for it because they don't have to overextend or anything. They can move over towards Baron again, set up your Caitlyn traps and your Heimerdinger turrets first, and force EG to walk into you. As long as you don't corral yourselves inside the pit and give them a free Maokai ultimate, should be quite easy for you. Licorice going to push on the bottom side now, furthest away from Baron to draw that pressure away.
It still has his teleport available to assist the rest of Golden Guardians should they decide to go for a play. Evil Geniuses, the ones that have to be careful how they get picked off by GG. But you were talking about how EG should be able to hit things like IE before they can really offer that threat, and just guess who just picked one up? Tristana, Jojo, reaching that Infinity Edge for that additional power.
Yep, now they just need the other one here on the Jinx, and they should be able to set something up for themselves. Meanwhile, though, it's getting more and more difficult. I love this buy from Licorice. Our Telestrator's not here, but you can see he's got the extra armor here. The Warden's Mail is so massive versus double AD carries. Steel Caps plus Warden's Mail on the Fiora. Even the Fiora is decently tanky against the triple AD carry comp. As long as he doesn't have to fight all of them, Licorice now is walking right up into Jojo, as you can see on the mini-map, while the rest of the team finishes off the Baron.
There's the arrow coming through, not hit by anyone. Golden Guardians with 2 roots from Inspire. The teleport coming in from EG as well. Taliyah wall gone to separate. River going in with a Cyclone Ssumday over the wall. A big blast of damage onto FBI, who's zoned out. Stun and lock. Vulcan's out of it. Huhi next to fall, and they're shut down onto Jojo. Golden Guardians turning onto the damage output of EG and taking it away. It's a triple kill for Stixxay. What are you gonna do when Golden Guardians take control of the play? EG running away at the work that GG's been putting forward.
And I think they should just retreat for the Baron here. They push up mid lane with 30 seconds left on Tristana, 24 seconds left on Inspired here. Also no teleport on the Tristana. Yeah, they are gonna pick that one up, no problem for themselves. Golden Guardians, really nice job They have the split push on bottom side. All they have to do is block the rocket here. They finish up the Baron, but Licorice splitting on bottom side, while the rest of Golden Guardians with so much damage in this team comp, they melt through the Baron. Even though Inspired kind of heading over here, they get sectioned off. So look at the Taliyah wall. Look at how they are able to section off 2 parts of the EG comp. Inspired plus Jojo and Vulcan here, separated from the rest of the team. And then with Licorice just coming in for the flank, River goes in, Wukong ultimate, then they get to pull back here, and the only real threat behind them was Jojo, who gets immediately annihilated there, headshot from Stixxay. While Licorice, we mentioned how much armor he has on the Fiora, is able to zone out the other threatening AD carry without any really big deal at all. Golden Guardians, yeah, EG are gonna have a very difficult time now climbing back into this one. Stixxay on his Caitlyn, one of his most famous champions. I always think back to, CLG, MSI days. It's nice to see him doing really well yet again, and Golden Guardians fighting their way here through playoffs.
It's one of the most intriguing things I feel about players like Stixxay that have been around for quite some time, have these picks that remind you of previous peaks in games and bringing it down to the present.
And there you see Jojo trying to get an objective bounty on the Tristana. He gets it. EG still fighting, still trying to use the Demolitionist as best they can with the split push. Does get the recall there from Licorice. But the onslaught in mid lane here, bottom lane already taken care of, and Golden Guardians, they easily get the Maokai ultimate out of EG without anybody being in any danger. And with the Baron buff still on, they can finish the push.
And now Jojo making that rotation to try to collapse with Evil Geniuses. Golden Guardian still pushing onto this turret and applying the pressure. Licorice has that teleport available to join them. They've got the Baron buff for another full minute to keep that up on the side lane.
Frozen Heart completed for Licorice. Ah, yes, the itemization takes over. We had the little interview with Spooks, the coach here from Golden Guardians, talking about if we get to late game, no problem. And they have arrived.
They're here, baby, they're here. Golden Guardians, ever since that play from Dragon into the first Baron, have offered so much threat to EG. So if you're looking at EG, Kobe, are you thinking it's written in the books, or can they find some way to land all the damage from the triple AD carries onto this line? It's just so hard with how just strong and durable Licorice is becoming.
Yeah, well, you still have to try. And until you get also now armor penetration on both AD carries, then it's going to be pretty difficult. We saw just a last whisper coming in from Jojo, so still pretty far behind the curve here, EG. Golden Guardians looking for the kill blow.
Around EG, going in for it. River cycloning in the wall to have some separation. Going into stasis, Jojo keeps himself alive for a temporary amount of time. Stixxay popping off at it again. Licorice going into the back line to get the double kill here. It's a good play. It's an ace for Golden Guardians.
And it's the game for Golden Guardians. Game number 1 already. Golden Guardians, massive stuff here. They give Licorice the counter pick again. They're rolling off of that confidence over the 100 Thieves win.
Woo, Lord, Golden Guardians, a statement in game number 1.
Stixxay got both his summoner spells blown level 1, and he never died in this game. 6-0-2 on the Caitlyn. River, massive engagement here for the Wukong. During the dragon fight, getting into the back line. Perfect jungler support score too, by the way, 0-0-12 for River. 100% kill participation for the jungler, giving all of the kills over to all the carries on his team as well. Honestly, really big team play here for the Golden Guardians. Despite the early gold lead from Evil Geniuses, that big team fight at the Dragon, continuing their stacking, getting so much gold back in their favor. They never gave it back over to EG.
They knew what conditions were working in their favor, and they very much stuck to the game plan, which I feel like is one of the things that is so clear with teams that can't achieve that. They get a little rattle-headed if they fall behind. But Golden Guardians, they knew what they were doing. They were able to close out here in game number 1. But remember, everyone, Spring Finals in Raleigh, North Carolina is next week, and tickets are live. Head to Ticketmaster.com right now to get yours before they are all gone. Speaking of Raleigh, let's take a look at our schedule for Finals weekend. Doors open for FanFest at 11 a.m. Eastern with broadcast beginning at 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific. Oh, FanFest was so fun last time. I'm excited that it's coming back. But everyone, let's head on over to the LCS Lounge to break that one down.
Welcome back, and yes, that was a game. Triple AD carry. I mean, there's a lot to talk about, just including the fights. Like, what was your first takeaway closer after just looking at that game?
As expected, quick trio from Golden Guardians.
There it is.
I mean, honestly, they play pretty good. EG kind of chose a draft that they, like, in my opinion, it was a bit risky. They chose Jinx, Tristana playing into Wukong. They have Maokai to peel, but I felt like they need to win their lanes harder in order to win the game. But around the Drake and Herald trades as well, I think GG played pretty good.
Let's take a look at one of the Drakes too, because like you talked about the draft and how it works. Sometimes it could be a little bit wonky within the fight itself. So how about you take away just your major points in this fight?
Yeah, actually before this fight, Jojo went top to kill Fiora, and they had like 30 seconds to hold the position.
Yep.
GG did a good job holding the position, and here in this fight, actually, Tristana walked over a trap and then jumped on a Wukong clone, and I think that's not very ideal.
Understatement.
Walked on a trap, got flicked by Taliyah, jumped on Wukong ulti. That was probably the worst way you could play it, but I mean, that was just a hard fight to begin with.
I mean, yeah, like if you guys are picking Tristana and Jinx, your setup has to be better. Otherwise, you're gonna struggle in the team fights against Wukong, Taliyah, and all these picks.
And their damage spread sucked.
Yeah.
Right? They had Ssumday top, they had Maokai as their only AP damage, and they had 380 carries. It didn't make sense.
There was one person. Oh, you go first.
Oh, no, I was just going to say the plated steel caps on the Wukong.
He's a tank now.
Itemization.
Yeah,
right?
There it is.
Game's over.
Right?
There was one person while we were pondering how to fix the draft that was on the job. Mark, what do you have for us?
Well, I don't know if I fixed the draft or anything like that. I just wanted to talk to you guys about it. So it was a really interesting draft in terms of how we got there, because it was a lot of target bans at some of the most popular pairings. So because they took like the Jinx and Caitlyn early, the bans that could come in that could take out, you know, Thresh was already gone. They take the Lux. Yeah. You raise your hand for class. It was a question of just like how they got here.
Yeah, it is really interesting because we know that the Maokai Jinx is a popular, or Maokai Trish is a popular pairing, but then they picked Jinx because the Caitlyn is already there and they don't want to lose lane. But then I actually feel like they got kind of sniped in 4-5 because they need two things. They need another source of magic damage, which either needs to come from the support position or from top lane, but they have to blind pick top lane with Ken and Ban, and the Heimer gets sniped from them. So I actually think their idea was to play Heimer's support on B4, but it was gone. And then they didn't want to blind pick a Gwen.
Obviously, they want this over here, for
because
example.
Golden Guardians is something, they would love that, I think, because that just makes more sense. It makes plated steel caps not as amazing. Or if for some reason, you know, Golden Guardians lose their mind and they blind pick their top laner, then maybe they can get a Gwen counter pick.
What else would you guys have wanted to see different? Because it feels like it broke in even the first phase that they were already put in this pinch position. Is it just like you can't just double marksman there like that, closer?
I mean, honestly, I would want C9 to play this draft, but I wouldn't want EG to play like this, you know?
Right, it's a C9 draft.
Yeah. I think like Red side answered pretty good. In the team fights, they need to position very well, otherwise their job is gonna be hard and they couldn't position good.
Yeah, and I would just probably think about getting your support on B3 in general. Like, you can go for something a little interesting. Like, if they're contesting with Caitlyn and perhaps later on they maybe go Lux, I would probably go Karma, something where I feel like you can get push in lane. That's something that I was thinking. Because then the fear is sure in 4-5 you can ban Malphite like they did, but if a Sion gets picked, then you are instantly in trouble with your positioning in fights. Now, we already heard from their coach Spooks why they went for the Fiora pick, and it makes sense if they're afraid of just losing prio in a lot of lanes, like they needed a place to play through their top lane. But I just think
a lot of us, wanted Sion in there.
Yeah.
I mean, you built Frozen on Fiora, same thing.
And he was a point of pressure early. The game got a kill. It did end up
actually work.
It definitely ended up working there. I mean, the question is, do you stay on blue side? Because they won 3 games against CLG on red side. EG selects blue side, actually, just saw it in prompter, so there you go, they're staying on this side. Do you change any of your first bans? Because they hard targeted River here Do you think it's better to just leave some of these up?
I just don't understand the Sejuani ban. I think you can easily replace the Sejuani ban with Wukong. Like as you saw, like River likes playing Wukong or Vi. I just can't see him having the same impact as Sejuani in the team fights. I think their idea of like picking Maokai and neutralizing the jungle, just giving vision, is good, but I think giving away Wukong and picking like triple AD carry against Wukong, you have to play very good, and they didn't play very good.
Yeah, sounds like a lot of changes they can make in the draft. Shout out to LS and his team for creating this tool, CBOT as well. That's gonna do it for us here. And as we go, one of the things that makes the LCS special is how the cultures collide. Today, our resident Ohioan caster Flowers has taught a little bit about Danish culture by Sven. Let's check it out on this week's Dining Together, delivered by Grubhub.
What's up, Flowers?
What's going on, buddy?
Because you're my favorite caster.
Got you a little gift.
A Danish from a Dane.
Okay.
Oh my goodness, it's a monster.
Look at that.
His older brother.
But now, why is mine 4 little ones and yours
Actually,
is 1?
This one is yours. So
okay.
The white one is the best one. That's how it is.
It's not a very supportive play.
That's right. When I grew up in Denmark, we had these very often on like Sunday family gatherings. That's why I remember them so much.
I wasn't expecting it to be that light. Like, it's light, it's flaky. It's not overpowering on the sweet, too. From your favorite caster to my favorite Yuumi player, I wanted to say thank you for bringing us back to Denmark here a little bit and allowing me to try some of these delicious pastries.
You're welcome. From your favorite Yuumi player, you're welcome.
Red Bull gives you wings. Who said you can't teach an old dog new tricks?
We have to tell everyone that we just switched to Verizon's new Welcome Unlimited plan for just $30.
I've already told everyone.
Wait, did you say Verizon for just $30?
It's their best unlimited price ever.
$30? That's awesome. Yeah, and it's from the most reliable 5G network in America.
For $30 a line, I'm switching now.
Yeah, it's easy. And you get $960 when you switch the whole family.
Oh, wow. I gotta let my buddies know.
We're already here.
The network you want, the price you love, only from Verizon.